Guys, Vince right here, and I kind of decided to actually review episode 1 all the way up to episode 45, I believe. I'm not sure with the season and all that and arcs, and there's a mix of different arcs and stuff like that. But this is basically an introduction of all the characters from episode 1 all the way up to 45. Basically after the whole Arlong thing, which is Nami's arc. So yeah, going through Luffy, Usopp, Sanji, Zoro, and Nami. And pretty much it's going to be a mix of different arcs, but I'm going to try my best to actually talk about it, review it, share my thoughts. And it was overall pretty good. I really enjoyed this whole entire series in One Piece, and I feel so nostalgic when actually watching one of the first intro and also the end credits, and especially seeing Arlong's park and Usopp of where he came from, especially being known as the biggest liar in this island, and also seeing Zoro tied up really reminds me of like my whole life in like kindergarten or something. And this is bringing me a lot of nostalgia from these particular characters, and these are basically the main five of just what mold their group. And of course, we're gonna get into more of like the others, especially with Chopper, and of course, I talk about Brooke already. And I don't need to talk about Frankie because I reviewed Water 7, being my introduction to One Piece once again. But yeah, just the amount of enemies and action and everything, like, this is a classic. Pretty much these kind of scenes and all that never get old, from the action scenes to the character to the quips that it has. I really enjoyed myself watching through all of it leading up to, episode 45. And one thing I know for sure is that for each character itself was guaranteed to actually not, they didn't expect to join Luffy at all. But Luffy is a very confident individual. I don't know what it is with him, but his love and, passion, everything, his aesthetic, persona, really kind of stretches like, their whole relationship all together, stretch, because he's rubber. But it really shares more of like the ambition. And that's one thing that I sort of noted, like the word of when I watch these episodes, especially coming from Zoro and also Luffy, is ambition, especially that fight with Hawkeye, which, guaranteed, it really brings that haunting presence when first seeing him from Zoro. And I can see why, because, and also I kind of see how like Hawkeye is not really a bad person, but guaranteed to actually, in front of Zoro to Hawkeye, you can see that this is sort of a fight that is gonna, really come all together. I mean, pretty much, they met at the other episodes that I seen, and basically after this whole, this whole arcs that Zoro with the whole Baratie with Sanji's arc, but it sort of has that, that's one thing I really love about, checking out the episodes for, up to these, first season, is that really getting to know a little bit more of the first characters. I know that when going through Water 7, especially Eddie's lobby, with the whole arc of, flashbacks and, especially what that particular episode is known for, of showing flashbacks of Nami, Chopper, and Usopp and the rest of them, of what their motivation is, and especially, seeing like the flashbacks and past of Nico Robin. I really do want to actually build a little bit more meaning, a little bit more empathy, a little bit more like what's within these characters and what made them who they are. And seeing that perspective as an adult, because that's one thing I love about the character development, is that there are episodes, there are filters within that I haven't seen in years. And now seeing them, pretty much very, conveniently from Netflix, I get to see all of it true, and pretty much it's kind of like a ride. When it comes down to these particular One Piece episodes, I just go in one after another, and it never feels tiring. The power of Oda's writing really stretches how the many abilities and stuff that he's willing to throw in for the world building and how it started. We got the introduction of the Navy of episode 45, and also the main introduction of, like, what the devil fruits are, and also seeing what the enemy's motives are, especially how they develop when it comes down to Otis writing of, like, different villains for different purposes, because it seems like the most of them are just monsters and, nut jobs that are just, trying to rule or just have a certain sin that they can't get off, especially with Arlong, his greed and what the village has went through. And there's certain parts of these particular villains where I'm just like, there is way more, torturous, kind of like, I feel like they're not supposed to be alive, especially with Kuro and also Arlong. They're not supposed to be alive at all. Now, I can't tell you if they are or not, but I guarantee you that we should never, like, see them again because of what their motives are. It's just downright just wrong and just, like, insane. And that's what the one thing about these particular episodes when watching them firsthand is that they're insane. They're going to different lengths where I'm just like, okay, that's kind of ridiculous. Okay, that's ridiculous. But that's the beauty of One Piece, is that it's a loony and actiony, in different perspectives. It's very, like, has that inspiration of just like how it goes into like a slapstick wave of just like different fighting points, and with Luffy's quips of how he is, and also the humor within the show. But with the serious stuff, it goes a little too loony with its like how the motivations of, like, especially with Arlongs, that one is crazy to really think about. And also to see how, like, most of these villains, especially the one in Sanji's arc in the Baratier of I'm not sure, whole body, like, pretty much just like being this complete a-hole, but and especially for most of these villains. But something dark is within Kuro, like that trust that you can't have mostly. And I feel like there's many traumatic areas surrounding this, especially seeing the story within Nami's arc about Bellamere, about who she is and how, she is like somewhat an impact, influence, especially seeing the, like, I always get this like feeling within Nami's arc of the town that she grew up in. Always feels like a very Western, place to live or something. Like, I always get that feeling. Like, Bellamere strikes me as like a badass chick that, in this modern age in real life would actually, like, I think of her like, growing up in Alabama and just driving a Harvey Davidson or something, like, and having guns on guns, or just, like, it really gives me that American feel when I look at Nami's village. For Usopp's village, I thought I would feel the same thing, but I always get this, like, especially seeing the mother, like, coming where Usopp's long nose came from, but who he is, and from this peaceful village that really is nothing without Usopp because of how many lies that he has. And you see that different stories sort of lead to lies. They lead to certain ways, like, how Nami leads to the, like, I don't know if he leads, but there's these unfortunate moments in their childhoods that should never happen, but it builds up who they are. And there's always this fulfilling moment when they get accepted to the crew, because I can never ever imagine, like, with these particular five pirates, or these four pirates within Luffy's crew, I can't imagine not being there with him, especially with Zoro's, like, being part of the crew and being like a saving grace for how strong it is, and Usopp for, his funniness. And it's easy to say that he doesn't really need to be there, but if I feel like, for Luffy and Usopp, I feel like they're, the way they are, their character, chemistry, really fits in to just like for Luffy's fun side. I mean, mostly it's the fun side, because Luffy does have a lot of fun when it comes to finding any enemies and going to any adventure. And I, again, with Luffy's, thing about being like very upfront and also just going full head on and something like that. I just love that about him. His brain is just like, almost non-existent, I would say. I mean, not to say that he's dumb, but man, the emotions and empathy that he has, but he still is, Luffy, if you know what I mean. And also for, like, seeing, like, gosh, I forget what was my main point when discussing these characters and stuff. But for Nami, it feels like she deserves to be there, even though she was a thief and supposed to be like, somewhat a betrayer. And I gotta ask, like, what was up with that ending when you know, when she was going to say goodbye, instead of saying goodbye, she just escaped. She just ran to the ship, like sail, and just she got out of there as if she's like getting chased, but ends up stealing everyone's wallets. The amounts of like how their character sticks out of who they are is still there. I'm trying to understand what Sanji's like love for girls came from. I don't know, like there has to be some kind of like backstory to that. Because so far, his backstory, and especially, how very messed up and deep it is, especially when it comes down to the idea of hunger, really is striking to me because it really relates. I know what it's like to not eat for a long amounts of times where you feel like you're about to die. That's serious because food is everything. We need to be, not for nutrition's sake, but just to stay alive. If there's one thing that can kill you for sure, is food and also a bunch of other stuff. But food, drinks, and, like thirst, hydration, and also having something to eat, like, dying from starvation or something like that is a real thing out there that humans, can literally die from. And this particular anime goes into those real directions and they don't shy away at all. They don't shy away how cruel the world is and how, really like, messed up how some of the people in this world can be. It doesn't shy away from those kind of lessons. I feel like for a kid itself, when looking at this, especially when I was a kid, all I can think about is the action scenes. All I can think about is the characters and also the villains. But as an adult, I see you like, where Oda's writing's coming from. I can see where how he sees the world. And through this one as well. The beauty of building up a story is you're adding layers to layers. You're adding a foundation. This is basically the foundation of building up that story and making it to something that is going to be well known, especially within the characters of these particular crew members. And it's going to be more than, because I seen it. It's like more than just a crew. It's more of a family. And it's this idea, especially understanding this from Nami and Sanji's, arc when leaving with them, is that they want to achieve a dream and they have friends to do it. And it really speaks to me of like, you need to meet your own people out there that can help you achieve those dreams. And things will happen, but you still have your friends, people that you can never forget. Because if there's one thing that you should never forget, is the people that you're with and that you met. There's people that I met in my life that never talked to me, but that one hi can speak to you. It spoke to me because I still remember them saying hi to me. A simple hi, that's it. And it really brings volume throughout your life, remembering, like, oh, I remember that person. I do. And I do feel that this show itself like really has that feeling for me because, I mean for the action itself, the pirate kind of aesthetic, I grow to love it because when it comes to pirates, when it comes down to the ocean, the sea, it's sort of like is within my, you know, it's within of like who I am, especially my own ethnicity and also like, my people, especially, me being Asian and stuff. But I really enjoy like One Piece of for like the characters, and I'm just happy just to talk about like I just want to set a starting ground of actually building up to the first episodes all the way up to where I'm heading because I'm supposed to watch this when I was about to finish Marineford, but I just feel like it's best to actually go back, and right now I'm on Fishman Island, but I decided like, you know what? Let me just watch back the other episodes. Let me watch back. And it seems like this was definitely all worth it. There's many points that I forgot that to make, but this is the best I can actually have to offer. The many characters that I really enjoy, I can never pick one because we've seen a little bit here and there of who they are. We've seen, like, there might be some returns, and that's of course gonna happen because I've already seen Water 7 the rest of the episodes, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, it really builds that, and I really do enjoy it. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Yeah, I'll be reviewing the rest of it. It's gonna be episode 46 to wherever I end up, basically. But it's probably 40 episodes that I'm gonna reach or more. Other than that, yeah, hope you enjoy this. It's just me talking about One Piece, the first episodes. I just want to actually make this because when it comes down to One Piece, I do want to actually make a completed playlist of talking about it because it's a show, and it's, kind of like one of my first animes that I ever watched. Especially with the favors of Code Geass and Sonic X, if you ever call that an anime. But I gotta stick in for something because this was my childhood. And I'm slowly, especially with the emulators, I'm starting to notice that I'm slowly coming back to my roots of nerdiness, basically. And really coming to terms and finding my way into those. It's kind of like going to old towns and understanding where you're coming from. That kind of, inspiration. And I hope this inspires you. Other than that, I just spoke this from a writer standpoint because I'm a writer. I do love to actually make stories and make emotional connections, and that's the beauty of story writing. I don't do it necessarily much, but I mostly do it in my mind. And let me tell you, I put on some music and I just imagine building a world that I can create, and I just make it from there. I just put some clays here and there and create something beautiful from each beat. Other than that, one love. Yeah, One Piece. I'm out.